It's Rob again. I'm back with part 2 of this little video series. What we've done just now was to go ahead and move that XHTML template into our folder. And so I'm going to talk about how we can make some changes to that, and then we'll take a brief tour of the XHTML template and talk through what's in it. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Show in Finder button here, and that will show me where these files are living in the Finder. So we can see my class folder here, images folder, the index file that I created a couple days ago in class, and then the XHTML template that we have here. What I want to do is I want to keep this template around so that I can use it in future projects, but I also want to make it into the index file that we'll be using in here as I complete the assignment walkthrough that you guys are going to have coming up. We'll just change the names of a couple of things in here. By far the easiest way to do this is just to go ahead and click on the index.html file that we have existing here. We're just going to rename this, and I'll call it something like old_index.html. I'm going to put that underscore in there because the internet does not like spaces in file names. And I'm going to go ahead and take this XHTML template file. I'm going to right click on it and go to duplicate, and that will make a copy of it for me. And then I can go in here, again, right-click on it and rename it, and we'll just call this index.html. And now, as you guys recall, anything in my web folder that's called index.html, it's what's going to show up for me by default. I'm going to go back over to GitHub Desktop, and it will tell me that some files have changed. What it's going to show me is that I've changed the index file and the old index file, and then this little invisible file that keeps this information up to date is up to date. So I'm just going to say changed index file to template. Hit commit. We'll push this up to GitHub just to be able to save this change. And as soon as that's done, I'm going to go ahead and go to my repository menu, and I'm going to select here to open this up in Atom. My Atom program over here is going to open up, and then what I'll do is to be able to look at what I have over here, which is my index file, my old index file, the one that we had in class, my XHTML template, and then my README file from my GitHub repository. Remember, this XHTML template file, what I did was to duplicate that. So this index.html file that I have in here now is an exact copy of the XHTML file. Let's talk for a quick minute about what is in this XHTML file and what these different pieces of the file are. First thing you're going to notice at the top of this file here is the document type. This is a way for the internet or the browser that you're using to know what type of HTML you're using. This is less important now than it was back in 1999 when the standard was promulgated. We had a lot less computing power, and browser makers were trying to figure out a way to turn on and off parts of browser parsing and correcting. But it basically just tells the internet what type of file this is. Do not memorize this. Do not worry about memorizing it. Hang on to this template if you need to use this, or you can Google it later on. And then below the document type declaration, which all HTML pages should have, what you'll see is your starting HTML tag here on line 4, and it closes itself down here on line 17. So the opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag will enclose all the content that's actually going to go onto your pages. In very rare occasions, you might have something outside of this HTML tag at the bottom of the page. Not going to run into it all that often unless you get into sort of higher end development. Now, because this is an XML page, what we have to do is to include this XML declaration here to tell the browser again what it is that we're using. Again, don't worry about memorizing this, don't worry about keeping this around, just hang on to this XHTML template file, and it's the one that you can keep using in the future. Within the HTML tag then, we have two other types of tags that every page has. One is the head tag that runs from line 6 here to down to line 10. And then the body tag here that starts on line 12 and runs through 15. The head tag is going to contain metadata about your page. So it's going to contain things like the page title, this meta declaration that's in here. And later on in class, it could also contain things like style sheets, external scripts, things like that will go into the head section. Also, sometimes viewport tags, which we'll talk about later on. And then some other meta information about the page depending on what it is that you are creating. For now, just know that the title is what's going to show up in the browser tab to tell you what page you're on. So your page title needs to be descriptive of the page and what's actually here. And then this meta declaration here just tells the browser what type of character encoding set that we're using. To really briefly explain what a character encoding set is, it's basically the way that bits of information are encoded to correspond to letters, numbers, symbols, alphabets, things like that. It's a way to let the browser know what kind of text encoding you're using so that your text doesn't come out looking weird, and it will work across browsers and across languages. So that's the head section of your page. Please note, this confuses journalism students a lot, and other people who come to this for the first time. This is not where the headline of your page goes. In other words, your H1 tags, your header tags don't actually go inside the head section. That's kind of confusing language. But this is purely for the title of the page, is the only thing that's seen in the browser as a result of anything that's in here. And then meta things, style sheets, scripts, stuff like that. Now down here on line 12, we start the body tag, and the body tag contains basically everything that is visible on your page. In this case, we have a comment, which won't show up in the browser, just in the source code, but it's there so you can see what the comment syntax is, a paragraph of content, and then the closing body tag. So this is what's going to show up here on the page. Okay, now that we've gone through that, I'm going to stop the video here, and then in a few minutes what we'll do is we will look at another short video that will be related to what you're actually going to see when you start changing your code on the page and adding things to it.